Aaron Nabus here, and thank you so much for listening to the Holiday Show podcast, where we proudly showcase indie pop culture and comic book creators that deserve more attention. For episode 87, I get a chance to talk with one of the most interesting people that I've met in a long time, Mr. Omar Mora. Please note, this conversation took place late 2019. Omar is a medical doctor that specializes in regenerative medicine. He's an actor, filmmaker, writer. He's written comic books, novels, and screenplays. And he's also an avid table tennis player. I'm not sure how he manages to find the time or energy to do all of these things. Maybe he's a vampire, like the protagonists in his comic book, The Unearthians. The Unearthians is a unique take on vampires and aliens, and after reading the first 3 issues, I definitely am eager to read all of the upcoming issues. Haven't you ever wondered what would happen if a vampire sucked the blood of an alien? Please enjoy my conversation with Omar as he talks about growing up in Puerto Rico, loving DC Comics, Superman, and Steven Spielberg movies, going to medical school in Mexico, treating firefighters in New York during 9/11, his creative journey, some of the challenges he's faced self-publishing his comic book, The Unearthians, table tennis, of course, our appreciation for our mutual friend and comic book creator, Rylend Grant. We also talk about stem cells and so much more. Well, I really appreciate and admire Omar's drive and passion. I mean, he's already written the screenplay for film and the treatment for the TV adaptation for The Unearthians. I also think his humility, positive outlook on life, and willingness to work with others to produce a better product definitely shine and come through in this interview. So please enjoy. Hey there, Holiday Show listeners. Aaron Nabus here, and on this episode, we welcome comic book creator Omar Mora. He's also an MD, an actor, and filmmaker, and an avid table tennis player. How interesting is that? I recently saw him at Golden Apple Comics up in Los Angeles at a Halloween-themed event that he helped organize. It was called Fright Indie Comic Fiesta, and it featured other indie comic creators like Rylend Grant, David Pepose, Steve Prince, Dylan Campbell, Tony Fabro, Charlie Stickney, Christy Shen, Russell Nolte, and David Schrader. I'll actually be talking to Rylend, Christy, and Charlie in the upcoming Holiday Show podcast, so stay tuned for that. But back to Omar, and maybe we can touch on the event that you organized at Golden Apple.
Sure.
When and why did you decide to organize this event?
You know what? I started meeting a bunch of indie comic book creators. I know Rylend, and I wanted to make an event for Halloween. So I had this idea to book a bunch of indie creators that has like horror stories or aliens or vampires or anything Halloween related. So I called Rylend, and basically he's the one that called all the artists while I was doing all the logistics with Golden Apples and all the entertainment production part of it. So Rylend looked for these great artists and comic book creators, and we put it together.
Yeah, it was a good event. Although I was sad because I was stuck in traffic. I was coming up from San Diego, and right when I got there, I guess I had just missed Gabriel Luna.
Yes. He was there. He was checking everybody's comic books. He took The Unearthians, my comic book. I know he took David Pepose and Rylend's comic book. He was very, very generous with his time with us. That's
so awesome. I wish I was there. I guess we can just get right into it. I mean, I'm curious about your origin story. I talked to you a little bit at Golden Apple, and it turns out that we both lived in Puerto Rico. You were born there and you grew
Yeah,
up there. I was there as a Navy brat. My dad was stationed over there. I was there from like 5 to 10 years old, back in the '80s. But tell me about your growing up over there, and what were you into when you were younger?
yeah. I grew up in Puerto Rico in a small town that is called Arecibo. Beautiful place, close to the beach, beautiful mountains. I love growing up in Puerto Rico. You have excellent weather, you have the beach, you have the mountains again, you have the food. The Puerto Rican food is so good. People is always happy. They love to party. It's a it's a beautiful place to grow up and have a nice, centered and um, uh, kid. How you call it when you're a kid
Like,
growing up in. I forgot the name right now in English, but it was a nice place to grow up and have your foundation for sure.
sure. I mean, good place to raise a family.
Your childhood, yeah. Your childhood, like to have it there, it was. I didn't see myself growing up in other place. It was such a blast, having fun and all my friends down there for sure.
Right. I'm sure a lot. I'm sure a big part of you misses it.
Of course, yes. I miss the beach and my friends and the weather. I love tropical weather. So yeah. But my life is here right now in LA. So I go every year to Puerto Rico to visit my family and to have nice Christmas food for sure.
What's a typical Christmas dinner in a Puerto Rican household?
Oh, we have different, but the most common is we call it in Spanish Arroz Con Gandules. It's like rice with pigeon.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I missed that too.
yeah, like pork. We have something that is called pasteles. It's like it's kind of not similar as tamales, but because it's based on plantain, but it's kind of similar. We have my favorite drinks. We call it Coquito. It's like the eggnog, the Puerto Rican eggnog with coconut milk. It's
Mm,
such a rich and great. I don't know if you remember Coquito.
no.
Um, oh man, we have what else we have? We have sancocho. We have it's I don't know how to translate guineito and escabeche. So many great like rich food that it's good and rich in flavor.
Yeah, I think my dad. I remember he learned how to make sort of like an appetizer for parties using the conch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
It
pretty good.
just yeah. And then you have all the seafood too. Like
Right.
if you mix it like all the pork with the seafood, like it's so fresh, everything out of the water of Caribbean and Atlantic Ocean. It's just a place to go and to eat well for sure.
I'm definitely due for a visit. I haven't been back there since I was a kid.
Yeah. It changed a lot. I know that the hurricane changed it a lot, like 2 years
Sure.
ago. But
Hmm.
we're rebuilding and it's looking great. And I mean, a lot of tourists are coming back to Puerto Rico, and we're definitely rebuilding. And we're moving fast. So I'm happy that
Awesome. I look forward to checking it out. What were you into when you were young? I mean, what kind of comic books did you read? Any type of genre like sci-fi or any TV or movies that stood out to you?
yeah. I'm always been into the DC. I'm a Superman guy. I'm a DC guy, Superman guy. Loving reading the comic books, watching the movies. I mean, the Christopher Reeve Superman is one of my, especially Superman 2 is one of my top films forever. I love that film. Yeah, I love sci-fi, The Dark Crystal. Remember the movie, The Never-Ending Story, The Goonies, all those movies. Indiana Jones. I remember loving those movies. Like Steven Spielberg for me has been the go to go movies. When I was a kid, watching all those awesome movies. But I was a lot into sports. I played a lot of volleyball and basketball in Puerto Rico. I play high school and I have a 2 year scholarship in college for volleyball. And so yeah, so I was very into sports too. I remember like playing volleyball almost every day. It was crazy. Training and playing, it was like my livelihood for many, many years. in Puerto Rico.
So that's a scholarship that brought you to New York?
The scholarship, it was in college in Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, I did my 4 years. The scholarship was for 2 years only. For the volleyball team, I was there in University of Puerto Rico, and then I from Puerto Rico decided to study medicine, and I went to Guadalajara, Mexico, to do my medical career. And from Mexico, I went to New York City to do my residency, where I did my pain management, physical medicine, and rehabilitation.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. It's been like I've been living in beautiful cities like Puerto Rico, of course. I mean the island, then Guadalajara, Mexico, New York, and now LA. I've been blessed to visit all these places, live in them, and enjoy living there and meeting a lot of different type of cultures and people. It's been great actually.
Now, out of all the places where you would, I guess, choose to go for medical school, why did you choose Guadalajara?
You know what? Because in Puerto Rico, I mean, logically, the Spanish, Puerto Rico, and Mexico is easier transition. I never been out of Puerto Rico before moving to Mexico, although the program I was in Mexico was in English. But it's a lot of people from Puerto Rico goes to Guadalajara to study medicine. So for me, it was like just like a natural path that I wanted, because I wanted to study medicine. So it was a natural path just to go to Mexico to study medicine, and because the university is accredited by the U.S., so it was like a just like a normal natural path to go there to start my medical career.
Now, did you already plan out that, hey, I wanted to end up in the United States eventually? I mean, like,
Not
New York or?
No, not really. I think life, I don't know, like take you to this path. But I always thought I was going to go back to Puerto Rico and put my office there and do my life there, getting married, having kids, like, the whole 9 yards. And doing actually, I did my rotation as a medical student in New York when the September 11 happened, the Twin Towers. So I was in St. Vincent Hospital, and I saw that event happen live. I remember the next day I went to Ground Zero to help because I was a resident doctor, and seeing that, with your own eyes and having that experience. And my hospital ER was the second ER, so I saw a lot of firefighters that I helped them with their burns. It kind of changed a lot of things that you always wanted to do but you never did for some reason. So that changed a lot of my life, and decided to study acting because I always loved movies so much, and the storytelling of comic books and sci-fi movies. So I wanted to be part of that business or entertainment life. And yeah, so when I moved to New York for residency to do my medical residency, I decided to start acting school as well.
Wow. That's that's incredible. I mean, there's nothing like a sort of like a life-changing event of that magnitude to really, I guess, maybe adjust your perspective on life, right?
It does, because I mean, you always think, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and some event change your life for sure. But there's some event that actually change the core, and it goes into your deep soul, and it changed everything. Like, if it wasn't for that event, I guarantee you I would not able to be here in LA. Like, I was not going to be here in LA at all. But life send you to this path, and you just take it and you just go for it.
Now, when did you leave New York and move to LA?
So I moved to LA at the end of 2006, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I decided, I finished 2 years of a conservatory acting in New York, and I finished my residency in medicine in PM&R, my specialty. And I decided to move. That's when I decided to move to LA to pursue both careers. I always wanted to start my own business, my medical office, and support my acting endeavors.
Right.
And and then I wanted to write as well. So I planned to start writing after I moved from New York to LA. So it's been almost 12 years, 11, 12 years here in LA.
What was the first thing that you wrote?
I did, well, my very was a short film. Forgot the name right now. It was like a 5 pages short film about a doctor. We actually shoot it. It showed in some local festival here in LA. Oh my god, I forgot the name of that film. Sorry, that was my very very first thing. Then I wrote a script that because I love superhero. One of my first full screenplay that the name right
Uh-huh.
now is called Becoming. But that was the first script. It's,
What
I
what
think
what
from
what
the
was it called? You cut out a little bit. What can you repeat that again?
yeah, the name of the first screenplay is called Becoming Kayon. At the time I
Uh,
wrote it for the first time, it was Becoming Mr. Lee, and that's been like 6 7 years ago. I think I have like more than 80 drafts on that script. I'm not even kidding.
oh wow.
It's been
Wow.
evolving, and I wanna shoot it one day. But and then I keep writing screenplays. Then I wrote a novel called Ancient Explorers. I put it out there in 2012 that I'm gonna rewrite right now, together with Jim Higgins. He's a writer here in LA.
Oh yeah, Jim Higgins.
Jim Higgins, yeah, you met him. He was in the event with us. So
Right.
yeah, he's gonna do some rewriting on that novel with me, and we're gonna put it out there. I want to introduce. I want to put a lot of comic book strips or panels in between the pages. So I'm kind of pumped that novel right now. So
Nice. Looking forward to checking it out. And just a little background about Jim Higgins. He helped sort of teach a lot of the comic book creators that I've had on the podcast, like Rylend Grant and Carlin Appy, Steve Prince. They're all part of the program that used to be part of Meltdown Comics, I
yeah,
believe. So
yeah, he's
so
still
Jim Higgins.
doing classes.
Hmm.
He's still doing classes. I don't have his website, but I should give a shout out. I think it's newsuit.net. Or you can Google Jim Higgins. He's a great teacher, comic
Yeah,
book
yeah.
teacher. So
Mm. Yeah, I wish I was in LA and I'd take classes from him.
he's awesome. He's awesome. So yeah, we're gonna work in that novel, Ancient Explorer. So looking forward. Well, we come up. I mean, the novel is written, so he's gonna have some additional rewriting, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the plot and just adding more flavor to it.
Cool. Speaking about comics, let's talk about your current comic book, The Unearthians. Maybe you can go into like the little bit of the story, just tease it a little bit, and then maybe talk about the main characters, Mateo and Carla.
Yeah, the Unearthians is a story that I wrote back maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I wrote it as a comic book. I wrote it as a film, and I have a TV treatment because I love the mix of genre of science fiction, aliens, and vampires. So I decided to write this story, The Unearthians, as a comic book because the visual medium of comics is so beautiful. So this is my first comic book, and I'm so proud of it. Basically, it's two best friends that get abducted by aliens, but the aliens didn't know that they're vampires. And basically, as the vampires are in this underground base, they discover that the aliens has a dark agenda for Earth and the universe, so they try to save the universe, basically. But I love the mix of how vampires interact with aliens, what happened when they suck the blood of aliens, if some changes happen or not. I mix a lot of mysticisms, going back to the Dracula era, and the aliens. I just love the whole thing. It's a fun comic, and I'm so proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the first three issues, and I'm looking forward to checking out the fourth one and also the other 12. I know that you've written all 12 issues already, right?
Yeah, they're already written. The artist, Mauricio Alvarez and Estrada, they did such a great job. We finished them every 6 weeks. They were giving me issue per issue per issue. Very few notes because Mauricio Alvarez has such a lot of experience in Mexico. Most of the things he did, it was just almost perfect.
Maybe you can talk more about your creative team. How did you find them?
So that's when I found Edwin Estrada, and it went through a Facebook. It was a colorist page that I found on Facebook because I love artists, comic book artists, and I was a fan of Edwin. So when it comes to find artists and colorist, the first person was Edwin, the colorist, and I was such a fan. I introduced myself. I told him. He was very intrigued. He loved the premises. So I sent the first chapter number one, the first issue. He loved it. He said, I have a friend. He's been in the business for a long time. His name is Mauricio Alvarez. Let me talk to him. So he talked to him, and Mauricio was on board. And then we found HDE. He's the letter, and yeah, and it wasn't as hard as I thought, and it was because of Edwin. He knew all these people. Yeah.
Cool. And you're self-published,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Self-published. I was trying to. Uh, I wanted to self-publish, but I wanted to distribute it through Diamond Comics to put it everywhere. But just the
Hmm.
truth, they never answer me, so I decided to even distribute it myself. So we put it on Comixology, local comic book stores like Golden Apple Comics and Legacy Comics in Glendale. They've been so generous with me, especially Golden Apples. They support me from the beginning. Um, we have a line too that we can order online the comic book. So proud of it. So
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely put a link to that. I mean, obviously there were some challenges, being self-published and not getting any diamond distribution. You and me want to go into those challenges a little
yeah,
bit? I mean, were you self-funded too? Did you do a Kickstarter campaign for it,
I
or
did
no?
not. I have a friend that he helped me invest in comic book. We did a budget because I was saving to money for this, especially because I wanted to make it happen. And then another investor helped me as well. So we just did it ourselves. Financially, because of the investors, it wasn't that bad. But most of the problem was to get the comic out there. How can I put a comic in Ohio, in Rhode Island, in Seattle, if you don't have Diamond Comic distribution? It gets expensive. Printing, the mailing, the marketing. So it's, I think the most challenging is to put the most challenging thing is put this comic in different stores in the nation. That's the most challenging thing. We're doing our marketing. We've been putting on the news. I think CRB for the comic book resource. They named us one of the first best 10 comics in LA Comic Con, so that was cool. We're having a lot of, yeah. We're having a lot of yes, and thanks to Rylend too, he put us on a panel in San Diego Comic Con. So that was huge for us because that was the weekend that the comic was released, July 17.
Now you said you have also a treatment for TV and for a movie as well, or is it just the movie?
I have the full script for the movie, and then the treatment for the TV. It's also there. My goal is to bring the story definitely. I think I would love to have it on a TV series by chapters, like 10 chapters. I would love to have it on Netflix or sci-fi channels because it's such a fun premises and versus vampires. But it's gonna be expensive for sure. A lot of VFX, a lot of CGI.
Now, would you cast yourself as Mateo?
Of course, yeah. I wrote if you see everybody was asking me, this character looks like you. I said, well, I'm an actor, so I definitely when the mom was asking me, so you see Mateo, I said, well, you know what? I'm an actor. I take some picture. Mateo is Latino, so feel free to put it up. So he did a great job putting Mateo look a little bit as me. He looks much stronger, though. But yeah. You know these two characters, Mateo and Carter, and eventually at the end of the 12th issue, this is gonna be at like Suicide Squad or Guardians of the Galaxy. It's gonna be Alien versus vampires, fighting the bad aliens. So it's gonna be a total of 7 or 8 heroes at the end. Dark Carter are the first one, and the first four chapters are the one that I go in detail with their relationship and their story, how they become vampires. Then issues 5, 6, 7, 8 is when I talk about the other characters, and then 8, 9, 10, 12 is all of them together. So yeah, I give my time to place everything um, nicely and smooth because I want to keep. I mean, my goal is to keep writing this story. I have so many plans for all these characters that I want to keep going, doing issue 13, 14, 15. But let's see. It'll depend on the economics by then and hopefully profits.
Right. Good luck. I'm looking forward to seeing how this story unfolds. It's definitely an interesting mix of genre. I mean, it's the vampires and the aliens. I mean, that's something I don't think I've ever seen before.
Yeah, a lot of people, like I never see this mix of genres in a movie or film or comics, and a lot of. But I did my research. I didn't find anything. But on my mind, there should be something out there. But a lot of people say that exactly what I'm saying. Like I never see like a mix of the way I'm putting it out there, like the mix of vampires with aliens, especially the interaction with the vampire with aliens. So
Right.
it's kind of interesting. Not because I wrote. I've always been fascinated by these two genres. Mixing it together is such fun to write this story. Like I wrote it like nonstop because of the fun of writing this sci-fi. What the possibilities of the whole thing. So and I want to keep expanding it for sure.
Awesome. I guess one thought I had in mind, just speaking to you right now, and seeing as how your specialization is regenerative
Yep.
medicine, and you have vampires here as your sort of your heroes. I mean, is there like a tie-in in there between how vampires can sort of
You
regenerate?
know what? I wish I could say yes, but I'm not that clever. But no, I it just happened. I think the future of medicine is going to be regenerative medicine, stem cells, exosomes, polypeptides. Um, a lot of research are pointing that we have on the market
Hmm.
nowadays. And I'm so passionate about it because it's kind of more natural and it does work. I have, patient when you put stem cells on exosome that they do regenerate cartilage on the knees or the shoulders. The pain comes down much better than regular drugs. So I love that part of my profession as a medical doctor. But the vampire thing I always love. It's nothing to do one with the other one, but could be. But maybe unconsciously, who knows? Subconsciously.
It was just a thought. It was just a thought that randomly popped in my head as I was talking to you. But yeah, about stem cells, I
Yeah.
listen to Joe Rogan's podcast a lot, and he talks about stem
Is
cells
the
quite
future. Is the
frequently.
future of medicine, and I mean my specialty because I do a lot of pain. It does work, but stem cells is for everything basically. Cancer, HIV, uh, pancreatitis. There's a lot of study with Alzheimer's disease and Alzheimer's, Parkinson disease. Especially there's something that is called exosomes. It's kind of the same stem cell technology. Exosomes are vesicles that activate your own stem cells on your body, and there's been a lot of research about that for neurological disorders like Parkinson disease and Alzheimer's. It's fascinating. Yeah, so both technologies definitely, I have no doubt, will be the future of medicine. It's just a matter of the FDA want to take control of it, and there's a lot of legal issues right now with some labs and the labs, but I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Not because I'm doing it, it's just because it works.
Hmm. So the exosomes, instead of sort of getting a transplant of stem cells, the exosomes sort of stimulate your own stem cells.
Yes, are very small vesicles that they activate and signal your own stem cells to be activated and become whatever they need to become depends on the problem that you have. The good thing about exosomes better than stem cells is that I know I'm getting too scientific here, but is that the exosomes they can go through the brain blood barrier that the stem cells can't, and that's why the exosomes are working. And there's a lot of Parkinson disease and Alzheimer's because they can go into your brain and regenerate new tissue and new
Wow,
neurons.
that's
It's
that's
fascinating.
amazing.
It's fascinating. There's a lot of research with rats that they make the rat to have a stroke or to have like a post-concussion syndrome. They put exosomes, and weeks, months after, the brain looks like new, like regenerating new tissue without the
Mm.
symptoms. It's really fascinating.
Been sort of I guess, in the forefront of regenerative medicine?
You know what? Stem cells has been around for more than 20, 30 years. I would say lately, maybe the last 10 years, but the last 2, 3 years, people are, hearing more and more.
Hmm.
Exosomes is been maybe 5 years, but people are hearing this now, maybe the last 2 years.
I guess. I
Like
guess.
exosomes.
I guess it's probably now peer-reviewed studies that are being published. Correct.
Definitely, and that's the problem when you start using stem cells and now exosomes. You don't have a lot of data to see what's going to happen in 20 years. So the stem cells data is coming out now. The exosomes data is mostly for short period because we're not been using it, as long. So there's still not a lot of data in regards of cases, number of cases studies. But I mean, there's quite enough because a lot of people are using it, and a lot of labs across the nation are using it. So they're doing a lot of data because they want the FDA to get approved by the FDA. So the FDA are regulating it, but they don't know what to do with them still. So I believe eventually it will be a big move for them.
Awesome.
Like always.
I think I need some for my knees.
Whenever you want, just call me.
Okay. I guess we can talk about maybe your other creative projects you have in the works. Is there a movie that you're working on right now, by any chance?
Yeah. We shot a movie called Inside the Circle last year, and we're just in post production. We should finish the post production by this month or next month. And it's basically a comic book geek like me that love comics, love sci-fi. He doesn't believe in marriage or doesn't believe in relationship, but he falls in love with a girl that believes in marriage and all the more traditional way of relationships. So it's a romantic comedy, and I would say 80% of that is based on my real experiences and life. So I'm looking forward to put this movie out there next year, hopefully, to see what people say. Yeah,
cool.
we're just working right now on with everything. We're just working with the composer, changing some music and some scores for the film, and get it out there next year to send it to distributors, sales agents, festivals, and all that stuff. So yeah.
So what was your role in the movie? Did you act, direct, produce, and all that stuff?
Yeah, I produced, wrote it, and act on it. I was the lead together with Stephanie Garcia. She's an excellent actress from Mexico. The director is from Puerto Rico, Javier Colon.
Okay.
So a bunch of good people are working on it. Passionate filmmakers, indie films, a lot of passion project. But it looks really. We have really good equipment. It looks really, 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 really high and production wise. So I'm very happy with the outcome. You probably see it for sure.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Is there any other creative endeavors you're working on right now?
Let me see. I have the comic, the Ancient Explorers that working with Jim. That's we're working right now, and that's gonna come for sure next year. And I'm gonna work probably with the same team, Mauricio Alvarez and Edwin Estrada, to put the comic panels in between. So it's gonna be like a mix of novel with comic. It's like a hybrid. And then the film, the comic, I'm pitching out the one becoming Keon's a superhero, Latino superhero. That in the film, Inside the Circle, because we never got clearance by DC to mention Superman or any of those heroes, I mentioned my own hero. So that's kind of cool and work out for the best.
Yeah,
So,
I always love when that happens.
yeah. So at the end, it's like, oh, this is like some marketing product placement, but it worked perfectly for the film. So I'm excited about that. And I don't know if something I mentioned this. I love table tennis and I play a lot of table tennis. So I'm organizing a tournament, an event from the top 10 players in Southern California to play together against each other December 7th here in Los Angeles at Gilbert's Table Tennis Center. So I'm organizing that, producing that event myself. So it's been
nice. Yeah, I was looking at your Instagram feed earlier, and then I see that you won second place LA table tennis, I guess, event.
Yeah, it's a local LA tournament in LATD, Los Angeles Tennis Table Association. This is by ranking. This is by numbers. So I was playing in the 1450. So I was second place. I was excited. I love table tennis. I love to compete, and it's been a challenge because I want to get really competitive and really get into those higher level competitions. So it's been a challenge, but I'm looking forward. I'm gonna play in the U.S. Open in Texas in
Oh,
December.
wow.
So I'm training hard to make to play well, to have fun. So let's see what happens.
What, what, where do you find all the energy to take all these projects on?
I don't know. I just
Are
love.
you a vampire?
Maybe I'm Mateo. Oh God, I don't know. It's just everybody, people asking me all this time, all this, all this. I just love to do stuff. I'm passionate about what I do, so the driven is there. And I mean, ping pong is just a sport that I just loved, and I'm getting into. I think I'm taking it too serious. Like everybody's like, calm down with your table tennis because I'm like every day training, playing like 2 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours.
Uh-huh.
I just love it, and it's a good exercise too. So
Hmm.
you know, you
So
can.
your approach to table tennis right now, is that sort of your approach to everything that you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I start something, I go full. I don't go half because I don't know that's what I. At least that's me.
Hmm.
So I'm training every day hard. I want to be in a high competitive level, and I want to try to get into semi pro if I can. So I'm gonna
Hmm.
push it hard. So 3 or 4 years to see where I'm at. But right now I'm making progress. There are small progress, a lot of frustrations. Learning new techniques and working hard, and you try to do something and doesn't happen, but you keep practicing and practicing, and eventually you become better. The same
Hmm.
as writer or as an actor or as a doctor. You just need to keep going and doing it, and you get better. There's no other way.
Awesome. I guess that's a good segue to my next question. Sort of advice for other creatives out there, and I'd say advice for other entrepreneurs, because at the end of the day, I think all creatives are entrepreneurs, because they need to make money
Yeah.
with the art somehow, right? So, and especially with you, I mean, you're balancing a medical practice, you got your creative projects, and you have table tennis going on. How do you stay organized, and how do you stay focused, and how are you able to produce at a high level consistently?
I think you mentioned one word that I don't like to talk about myself too much, but I'm very good at is organizing. I'm
Hmm.
organized myself in a way that I divide everything, that I have time to do it every like for like the day it's enough for me to do everything that I want, but I don't get overwhelmed thinking about everything that I do. I just start little by little what I need to do today, my goal for the week, my goal that I have for the whole year, my goal for the whole thing. So you just do step by steps. I think the first thing you need to do is go for it, whatever you want to do, whatever entrepreneurship and you're passionate about. Um, just go for it. You just read books, you educate yourself, but most of the time you just learn as you go. I mean, there's no other way.
Hmm.
Um, the first film, 30 Days with My Brother, was my very first feature film that I wrote, I produced, and I learned so much with that movie. And the doors that opened, it was crazy. I mean, that movie ended in theaters. AMC theaters give us 7 cities in the nation.
Wow.
So I think I become the first Puerto Rican to have a movie distributed by AMC. So I was so proud of it. And the way everything started, I just said, I'm gonna do this movie. I want to have the experience. I want to see. I want to learn. So you just and then I think the most important, honestly, Aaron, is surrounded by awesome people that helps you. Everything will be better. There's no way you can do it by yourself. So I've been lucky in life to have great people in meeting great people in my life that are helping me accomplish my goal, and vice versa, and helping them as well. It's like a symbiotic relationship.
Hmm.
And this is the comics is a huge example of that. If it wasn't because Mauricio and Edwin Estrada, this comic, there's no way it's gonna look this good and this great. The same with the first movie, the first director, Michael May, he helped me so much. The same with this movie, Inside the Circle, Javier. Colon and a bunch of filmmakers. Everybody was in. So I guess my best advice is surround yourself by great people that everybody feed from each other to grow your business and as a person.
That's excellent advice. And I was going to save my superhero shoutouts segment for later into it and I guess give some shoutouts to some of the people that helped you along the way.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the first shout out I need to give it to my parents, of course, my mom and dad. Um, for sure. I mean, without them, and again, having that childhood in Puerto Rico, it just I feel like I have a solid childhood to build mentally, uh, to do whatever I'm doing right now. But along the way, recently again, I shout out to Michael May, the director of 30 Days with My Brother, the director from Inside the Circle. Rylend Grant, he was being so generous with me in regard of mentoring, for the Unearthians. Um, Ryan from Golden Apple Comics, my God, so generous to give me basically the store whenever I want to market the comic and to sell the comics there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
who else? No, so many people that helped me uh, to do everything that I'm, in for example, in my medical practice, one of the first person that helped me, their company name is Golden West Medical Billing, because I started my medical business without not knowing anything. So they guide me how to apply for the insurances for Medicare. That's by itself is a nightmare to apply to Medicare and to take medical and to all these insurances to become right after residency. So a shout out to them because they helped me so much. Golden West Medical Billing, yeah. Who else? One of my best friend, Daniel Linares. When I came to LA, his family took me because I didn't know anybody here. They took me, into their
Mm-hmm.
arm, and I lived with him for 3 years. And his family was so good to me that without those people, even though they're not directly with your business, but it just make everything more comfortable and more easier to do things. I don't know, so many people that I don't remember right now, but for
No
everybody
problem.
that is
Well,
everybody that's listening, this thank you.
I'm sure we'll have you on again. So if you missed anybody this time around, well, I'll give you another opportunity to say thanks to them on that episode.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about these stories, because Aaron, people like you are the best in the sense that you to get our names out there.
I'm happy to do it. The pleasure's all mine, man. And I have to mirror your appreciation for Rylend Grant too. I haven't known Rylend Grant for a long time. I only met him, a few years ago. But he's always been supportive of the Hall 8 show, and he's been on a few times. And I just love the guy. He's so awesome. And
He's an amazing writer. I mean, his comic Aberrant and Banjax is such a great story. Probably we're gonna see that in a TV soon. But he's been so generous, not with me only, but with a lot of indie creators and giving opportunities on the panels that he does, and a lot of information that we don't know, and because of his experience, he just give it to us. So yeah, shout out to him for sure.
definitely. Yeah, I guess we can go into a quick thunder round. What color best describes you, and why did you pick that color?
Blue. I don't know. I always like blue. I guess they put me as a baby in a blue blanket, I guess. Yeah.
Well, isn't Superman's nickname Big Blue?
You know what? Maybe it's there too. It's blue. I love superhero with blue costumes. I think blue is because of the ocean.
Uh-huh.
Because of I grew up close to the beach, and always remind me it's a peaceful color. It gives you peace, and I don't know. It reminds me of Puerto Rico.
I think it sort of had it can be peaceful, but at the same time it can be energetic. Depending on the on the vibrancy and the.
Definitely, it could be heroic too.
Awesome. If you were president of the United States, what kind of artwork would you hang in the Oval Office?
Alex Ross and Jim Lee.
Oh, good choice. Good choices. Can't go wrong with that.
Definitely. If you come to my place one day, this looks like a comic store. I have so many prints from Alex Ross and limited printed and artist proof. I just love his artist. So it's like the Salvador Dali of comics. It's so
Oh,
um
okay, yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Describe your perfect Sunday afternoon, sort of like the calm before the storm. That is the busy work week. What's that Sunday afternoon like for you?
The perfect Sunday would be like laying in my couch, doing nothing, watching TV. Yep, that would be the best Sunday.
And nice. And what would you be watching?
I've been watching lately DC Titans on the DC Universe app. I mean, on the TV.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nice.
It's a good,
I've,
good show.
I've been hearing good things about it. It's definitely one thing that I've been meaning to check out. There's just so much out there to digest and take in just so little time.
I know. I don't watch too much TV. I'm a huge. I used to watch a lot of Game of Thrones. That was my favorite. I think that's one of my favorite shows of all time. I
Yeah.
love that.
Did you love the last season?
You know what? I didn't dislike as many people. Like they were so harsh on it. I mean, it's Game of Thrones, so who knows? They throw stuff at you. But I mean, I enjoy it. I know what people hate it, but I enjoy it. I can't complain. I have fun watching it. So, especially that episode that they killed what's his name? The bad guy. This like Ara killed him with the stab. I think that episode was amazing.
To be honest, I haven't watched Game of Thrones that much myself, so.
All right.
But I've heard good things about it.
Great
It's just that it's so vast that I as when everybody was starting to get into it, it was already like 3 or 4
Too
seasons
late.
in, and yeah, I was like, oh man, so I'll just have to check it out some other time. But you said your favorite superhero was Superman, right?
Superman, my favorite superhero of all time. Is such a powerful
Yeah.
being with such honest.
Uh-huh. And
And
if you
Mhm.
if you were to make a movie, a Superman movie, who would you cast as Superman, and what would that movie be about?
I will go with Henry Cavill. I think after Christopher Reeve, or even at the level of Christopher Reeve, physically and his face is the Superman you kind of grow up. I love him as a Superman. Actually, I will cast him. I'll keep him as a Superman right now.
Uh huh.
And what was
And
the
what's
second
like a
of the question?
and what would the movie be about?
You know what? I will be based on the comic of Man for Tomorrow of Jim Lee. I don't know if you know that saga. I think that that of it was I enjoyed it a lot. Man for Tomorrow or Superman All Star. I think that was great too. There's so many great Superman stories for sure.
Cool. What's one thing your fans would be surprised to learn about you?
Surprise about me. Well, I'm also getting into the aesthetic business. I'm creating a regenerative serum for the face. I think nobody knows about that. So so I didn't-
So is that how you're able to look so young? Because when I met you, like
Yeah.
I met you a while back, but then when I met you the second time recently, it's like I was surprised to learn that we're about the same age, but you probably look
I'm
20 years
actually I
younger
don't know if
than
it's the creamer. I think it's genetic. I always say it's the coconut water in Puerto Rico.
me.
But to be honest, I've been the guinea pig of this serum for the last 4 months, and it's not because I'm trying to sell this, because it's not out there yet at all. But the thing works. It's like I'm fascinated by it. It's funny. It has the stem cell technology. It's crazy. Yeah. So
Oh
that's
wow.
something that.
I know there's a company out there, or maybe I think they're using maybe starfish cells
There's
or
a lot
something
of
like
using
that, right?
I don't know starfish, but there are a lot of using plant stem cells. It's interesting. Yeah, everybody, when we get into 30s and 40s and 50, we want to keep it. We're gonna keep it hold it together until we get into the 70s already. I'm
Yeah,
sure it does.
you'll be playing table tennis and crushing it until you're 90.
I hope.
Um, Now, for my last question in the thunder round, it's if you could have a meal with anyone, where would you eat and who would it be with?
Okay. So the person I would love to have a meal, for sure. I mean, he's not alive, but it will be Albert Einstein. I think he's such a character and he's such a genius. I would love to pick up his brain and listen to what he has to say on the scientific part, because I know on the personal level he was out there. He was, I think he was a womanizer, and I love. I read some of his books and watch like a biography, and I'm very fascinated by his life, especially because of his accomplishment in physics and mathematics, and he changed the way we see the world. Such a genius. So I would love to talk to him. And where? Probably in Puerto Rico, drinking Coquito. That should be good.
I'm sure he'd like that. Is there anybody else that you'd want to have a meal with?
A person that is alive, I would love to meet Steven Spielberg. He was such an inspiration in his movies, Jaws, E.T., that, I mean, touched my life forever. Jurassic Park, The Goonies, Indiana Jones, so many great movies. All these alien movies, like The Third Kind, the Third Encounter of the Third Kind, I forgot the name, but I love that movie.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Love that movie. Artificial AI, love it. I mean, so many great movies. I would love to just meet him and just chat with him.
That's a good choice. Those are both good choices.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind having a meal with them myself. Hey, Omar, this has been an awesome conversation. Is there any projects that we can look forward to you, I guess, in the near future that you can share?
Yeah. I mean, again, at the same that I mentioned would be Inside the Circle, is the indie film that I hope it comes next year. The book I'm working, Ancient Explorers, that is going to be a hybrid between novel and comic book strips. The Unearthians, it's just going to keep going until next year, at the end of next year, where we're going to have all the 3 volumes, all the 12 issues. And and I guess that's it. And my ping pong endeavors. So, yeah. Thank you. I will post. Sometimes I don't like to post too much of my training, but definitely when I go to the US Open, I will post if I win, if I lose bad, or if I lose well. Let's see. I always said if I lose, I want to lose like a champion. I want to lose like I want to play well. So,
is there anything that we missed that you think our audience would like to know about?
my social media, I don't know if I mentioned it, but is you can find me on Instagram at Mora himself, Twitter at Omar Mora Actor, and Facebook Omar Mora Actor. So
awesome. We'll definitely share that. And I think there's the website for the Unearthians, right?
Yeah, the Unearthianscomics.com, and my production company morasproductions.com. So if you go to both, they're gonna have link to go to the Unearthians Comics. You can order the comics there. I have some apparels, hats, t-shirts that also you can order if you want to.
Awesome. And once again, Omar, thank you so much for coming on the Hall 8 show.
Appreciate it. The interview and the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, and what one did with this, I was on your IMDb page before the podcast started, and I saw that you have a personal quote there. It's life is just one, so live it. So why don't you let our audience know what that means to you?
Basically, is literally what is that? Life is one. We just have one life, and we need to live it as best as we can, and go for our dreams and live it as a full life. No regrets. I don't want to be 80s with regrets. I want to live it now and live it once.
Awesome. That's a perfect way to end it. I look forward to our next conversation, Omar, and good luck with your ping pong endeavors.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. This is Aaron Nabus. We just had on Omar Mora. Go check out his comic book, The Unearthians, and we look forward to seeing what else he does in the future. Peace, cheers, and talk to you later.